This man was being accused of taking the life of a friend during a barbecue after an argument. Take a look at his testimony in his jury trial.
So, can you tell me exactly what happened on that specific day, Ricardo? Looking back at that day, what do you remember? Márcia called me up and said that she was over at a barbecue at her brother's house and invited me. She asked me to go there and join them at the barbecue. At first I refused. I said I wasn't going. She insisted, and I ended up going over to Anderson's house, where they really were. Him, Anderson, Mauro, Lucas, and Elaine. If you could bring the microphone a little closer. No, he already brought it closer. Okay. Just to improve the sound. Leave it there. And Anderson's 2 daughters were there too. Also at the place, Maicon and his wife. Maicon is also Márcia's brother. However, right after I got there, about 20 minutes later, Maicon's wife started feeling unwell, and they left the place. They were having a relaxing afternoon barbecue in the backyard, and I decided to join them there. We were all enjoying some cold beers and having a very long, interesting conversation together. It was already getting late. I don't remember exactly if it was 6 in the evening. I believe it was after 6, because Márcia was coming from work. Since she works for Carana, she would get here a little after 6 in the evening. Once we finally got there, we stayed for quite a while just talking, eating some delicious meat and drinking cold beer. We did actually have some of that cachaça that Anderson mentioned he had stored there, which was a small 5-liter bottle he keeps for special occasions. But we certainly didn't drink all 5 liters. We really just had a few small shots together. And at a certain point, Márcia told me that they had already come from a party the day before. Mauro and Lucas, not Anderson, but that they had already been at a party the previous day, that they had pulled an all-nighter using a drug known as cocaine. They were using it there, and that at the place, the 2 of them were using it. Both of them were using, and so was Anderson. They went to meet up with Anderson there to use the drug at his house. At one particular moment during that time, Mauro, or Maurinho as we called him, approached me directly and said, "Ricardo, I was wondering if you could possibly help me out with something here. 50 rays so we can get some more." I said no. I made it very clear to them that I'm not using any drugs, and I'm certainly not going to help them with that. At that point, it seemed like maybe their supply of drugs had finally run out, and he immediately started to show a very hostile and aggressive attitude toward me. It wasn't just him, but the others were acting that way too, because they were all desperately expecting me to step in and provide something so they could just keep going with what they were doing. With that sequence. And that's what I didn't do. I could have done it, and none of this would have happened. It happened back when we were all gathered there together. I had already been drinking quite a bit myself by then, and they were also drinking heavily, in addition to using various drugs. That was the exact moment when they started picking on me and teasing me, simply because I was wearing a girdle at the time. Márcia was in the corner talking to Elena. She had her back turned. When he started picking on me, I said, "But what's the problem with my girdle?" I could have even asked them how many buckles it had, because the buckles went from the front all the way to the back. I didn't take the girdle off, I just showed it. That's when he asked me, "Why are you showing me that girdle?" And that's when I told him, "No, my girdle has buckles, don't you like it?" He pushed me right then. When he pushed me, the other 2 were already positioned in a triangular formation at 3 corners. I got slapped in the face 7 times and only saw 2 of them. The 2 I saw were Anderson, who hit me. The 2 I saw were the ones who hit me. Okay. I fell to the ground. I lost my balance. Also because his house there has a little wall, really low like this, where the yard is. Everything is small there, in the housing project. I ended up losing my balance and falling to the ground. I saw that Márcia came quickly so they wouldn't attack me while I was on the ground. That's when she went after her brother. He slapped her in the face once, twice, 3 times, just as she had already said in her statement, but didn't have the courage to say here today, because I no longer have contact with her, I no longer have contact with Márcia. She has already tried to talk to me through WhatsApp and I didn't reply. That's the issue. After that, she took it. I saw from the ground, I was lying on the floor. I saw her getting slapped in the face 3 times, and her brother is strong. Each slap knocked her down. A slap, and she fell. A slap, and she fell. And she managed to get up 3 times. On the 4th, she couldn't. On the 4th, she couldn't. That's when I was already trying. I was already getting up. She came and helped me to stand up. Jessica arrived at the scene. She's her niece, but she didn't see anything either. Elaine was there. She might have seen part of what happened, or maybe she doesn't remember it well. And we left. I left there with Márcia. She was in tears. The news I have is that she never spoke to Anderson, her brother, again. That's the information I had up until the last time I was in contact with her. Okay. I took her to her house and then went back there, walking quickly to his house. They said I went there twice, and I really did go twice, but I didn't call anyone when I went to get my pickup truck. Maybe they didn't even see that Maybe they just heard the sound of the pickup truck leaving. I got there, and there was no one in front of the house. I got into my pickup truck, took it to my house, got my motorcycle, and was heading back to Márcia's house. On the way, I passed by there, still with my face burning on both sides. I got there and called for Anderson, intending first to apologize, and second to ask him to give me back the beer I had brought, because I was going to Márcia's house, so I was going to drink that beer with her there at her place. I went out twice to buy beer. I went out with Lucas, we bought a box with 12. And then I went out with Mauro, I bought one with 18. I bought it at Cidade Canção and at Rodolfo, at the distributor. Okay, I went back there. When I got back there, I called for Anderson, but he didn't come out. The ones who came out were Mauro in front and Lucas behind. When Mauro was already approaching the gate, he was already insulting me. Even though I hadn't said anything, I hadn't said a word to him. I had called for Anderson. He was already insulting and threatening me. Lucas, the whole time, stayed silent. Since the street is steep there, in the Mutirão, Jandai is on a hill. So the street is more or less like this, at this angle. I can't say exactly how steep the street is there. I was at the lower part, so Lucas, even though he's short, was higher up than me. He leaned over there, and Mauro stayed on this side. Anderson didn't come out. That was the exact moment when he suddenly started talking to me in a very strange and unusual way. In a rude way, threatening me. Among other things. I don't remember everything he said to me. I remember that when he came out, he already said to me, "If you're armed, then you can draw your weapon and shoot." I said no. I just came here to apologize for what happened, even though I didn't see any reason to. They were the ones who should be apologizing to me. First, because I'm not obligated to support drug use. I say this openly, not just here in this trial, but God is witnessing what I'm saying. Okay? This exact situation happened when Elaine suddenly came out and firmly said, "No, if you really want the beer, then I will be the one to go and get it for you." When she was coming with the beer, Mauro went to meet her, took her inside the house, and he went into the house. At that moment, that's when I saw Anderson. They met there. It seemed like they were talking inside the house. And when Elaine was coming with the beer, she actually wasn't bringing beer anymore. She was bringing a bag with empty cans inside. With empty cans. If I had put my hand in the bag, maybe I wouldn't be here now. That's why I didn't take any beer, didn't take any cans, empty or otherwise I didn't take anything. They were already coming. They were already coming for me, already plotting secretly against me, just to try and get their hands on me once again. He went outside. When Elaine was coming over, I noticed that the can, because it couldn't be like that, the bag was way too light. Mauro came, Lucas was positioned on this side, and Anderson was coming from behind, from the back. But he didn't get very close to the gate. Because when I saw that dangerous situation happening right there, in an act of immediate self-defense, at that exact moment when they tried to jump on me, that is when I quickly drew my weapon and fired. Mauro had positioned himself there, in a very strategic location. When he went back inside, I noticed that he was coming back and he wasn't unarmed. He wasn't unarmed. There was definitely a bulge, and he positioned himself under the tree. It was dark there at the scene. And when she came, bringing the bag to hand it to me, as she reached out, Lucas jumped and slapped me on the forehead. But since I was already expecting that something might happen, I had this feeling. I also managed to react when he jumped forward, but he was above and I was below. I didn't have enough time to jump back far enough to avoid being hit on the forehead. That's when I drew my gun and fired. I fired those shots solely to defend myself, because I was in genuine fear of being attacked again, or even out of a very real fear for my life at that exact moment. I saw that after the shots, since I still wasn't 100% clear-headed. Yes, I had been drinking, but I saw that they were already heading inside, already closing the door to the house. Anderson from the doorway said to me, "I told you to come back later." And he threatened me as well. I don't remember what words he used. All I know is that at that moment, I got on my motorcycle and left the place. I left the place. I was feeling anguished about everything that had happened. It wasn't my intention. It wasn't my intention to have acted that way, but I had to make a decision at that moment. Yes, I stopped right there. As the doctor mentioned, I stopped and said a prayer to God at that moment. I offered a prayer to God and asked that God welcome evil in the heavens. How could I also ask him to take away the anguish I was feeling? An anguish that I still feel to this day. These past 3 years, you could say they have been the worst 3 years of my life. I also had to undergo medical treatment. I received treatment at the regional hospital with Dr. Renato. I'm taking medication, prescription medication. To sleep from yesterday to today, I took an alprazolam. It didn't work. So I took clonazepam. I don't know if I slept. What I do know is that at 5 in the morning, my phone went off. That's when I woke up, jumped in the shower, and then I just started waiting for the right time to come here.
Can you explain exactly why you felt the need to go and get that gun? Right after you had returned back to his house?
I got the gun because when I went back there, I was afraid of being attacked again. Another thing, I had been slapped 7 times. Now tell me, isn't it easier? I'm not asking, I'm stating, giving my testimony. Is it easier for me to be man enough to say that I slapped my sister in the face? Will that get me arrested? It's a heinous crime. Or should I confess that I fired 3 shots? I thought they weren't telling the truth and that this lie can't prevail. That's why I'm here. So, if I am to be convicted, let it be for the truth. Yes, they assaulted me. Márcia was assaulted too. She left there with me. They asked for money to buy drugs, jokes aside. None of those who are here were there. They didn't see what happened. So, what would the situation be? Do they want to make a lie pass for the truth? Is that it? Is that the desire? Is this what justice is?
That's right, Ricardo. I'll pass this on to the prosecutors.
Okay, we've heard his side of the story. Now, let's watch. How will he answer the prosecutor's questions in the case? The prosecutor is like the prosecuting attorney. Broadly speaking, in a jury trial, his role is to prove and convince the judge and jury that the accused is guilty of the crime. And if you're enjoying the video so far, click like and subscribe to the channel.
Ricardo, you were questioned at the police station. I would like to understand why, at that time, I'm not too far off, am I? At no point did you mention that Mauro had asked you for money to buy cocaine, did you? Yes. At that time, at the police station, I didn't mention it because I didn't want to get involved in any situation with drugs, since I had already had problems with drugs before. The fact is that he asked me for money to buy drugs.
All right. Let's move on to the next one then. Did you carry a weapon?
Well, on some occasions, it hadn't been long since I bought that gun, so I had just gotten it back. It hadn't been long because it had been stolen from my car. So right after I got that gun back, I kept it at my house. I didn't usually carry a weapon often. What?
Why is that? At the police station, you said that you used to always carry a revolver, and in court, you say that you carried the gun with you, that at the moment you went to walk, your gun was already inside the pickup truck, that you usually carried a weapon, that you took the gun out of the truck in case you were attacked, to defend yourself. You even said here that you had mentioned it to Mauro at the barbecue, that you usually carried a weapon. Therefore, Mauro should have even assumed that you were armed.
If those were the words I used, then that is exactly what was actually taking place at the time. Occasionally, I carried the gun with me at certain times, especially since I had only recently acquired it. It had been recovered, and at that moment for me, carrying that gun it was as if I were carrying a collectible, something I thought was nice, but I didn't go around showing it to anyone.
I see. You even say here that you always carried that gun with you. Wherever you went, the gun was with you. Because it was a small gun, I kept it in my pocket or in the pickup truck.
Not always.
So, did you lie here?
No.
Your own words.
No gun on me, 24
hours. You said that here. This is your statement.
But I didn't say it was 24 hours, and not at all times.
So let's move on to the next one. There, at the barbecue. You mentioned here that I treated Márcia by grabbing her by the belt?
Look, at that moment, when we were at the barbecue, Anderson was constantly assaulting his wife.
No, I didn't ask you that. I'm being very objective. Did you say that phrase or not?
Then,
I'll handle Márcia by touching her.
Belt? Exactly, that's when I said that.
Because at the police station, when the officer asks why you think the fight started, you turn around and say, at the end of her testimony, I'll tell Márcia here by grabbing a belt. You even say, I was joking, I wasn't telling the truth, I wasn't being serious. But you say that. In court, you already said that the argument started because of the request for money to buy cocaine.
That's right.
So after all, what was the real reason? You said...
Exactly that. Exactly that. Sometimes I watch a movie, many times I watch it 10 times, and I'll still watch it an 11th time and still find something new. I couldn't take in everything that happened at first, but that's what happened.
Are you saying this here in court? That Mauro was not coming toward you? That you fired because Mauro threatened you?
Yes.
That Mauro went toward the bench? That Mauro went toward the bench and said, I'm going to get you. Something is going to happen to you. That when he said that, he already felt the others getting closer and jumped 2 meters back, drew his gun and fired. After all, was Mauro going toward the bench or was he coming toward you?
In front of the bench, there's a tree. He was already positioning himself to hit me. That's why he was saying he was going to get me.
Hit you with what?
He had already looked at his belt once. And he had already reached for his belt once, bringing his hand back up, while I already had my hand in my pocket. It was when at the moment he reached for it, that's really when I drew the strap.
Did you actually see that he was armed? Did you see a weapon there on his belt?
On him? It was dark, but he did have, there was a weapon on his belt. When he went back inside together with Elaine, he went back to get it.
I want to know if you saw or did not see this firearm that you are talking about. Did you see it or not? Did you?
I saw it.
You said you saw a bulge. Did you see a bulge or did you see an explicit weapon, a firearm?
Exactly that. I noticed quite clearly that he had something bulky tucked deep inside his waistband, which was creating a very noticeable bulge that looked exactly like it could have been a concealed firearm.
Here comes my next question. It's as follows, let's go. You say here at the police station, when you saw that Mauro had a pistol, you grabbed the weapon and fired. You say that you saw Mauro go to draw a pistol. It's funny because the judge, you at no point mentioned this pistol. You didn't mention a firearm with Mauro even once. In your testimony in court, which was your opportunity to defend yourself, you did not mention a pistol, not once. Throughout your entire testimony, you only said the following. I'll read it here for you. When Dr. João asks you, but then why did you shoot? Why did you pull the weapon? Why did you fire when you were threatened? You don't mention a pistol. You don't say that Mauro put his hand on his waist, that the victim wasn't coming toward you, that you fired because the victim said he was going to get you and that something would happen to you, that he was going to settle the score with you. You said that at that moment you thought of your daughters and therefore because of this, the threat you fired. And why at that moment did you not mention the pistol?
I said that he was going to get me, not settle the score.
He wanted something to happen to you. Those were the words. I wanted something to happen, not that he was drawing a pistol.
Exactly. Put together everything I said at the police station. Put together everything that happened.
Ah, I understand. Put it all together. It won't hit, but... Doctor.
The Lord God, he's talking. Mr. Ricardo, good afternoon. Regarding the use of narcotics in the house, did you witness them using any type of narcotic?
I didn't see it. Márcia mentioned that they were definitely using illegal narcotics, and she noticed something very strange about their eyes. That alone demonstrated that they were indeed using it. And because he came to ask me for money to buy more, I deduced that he was using it. He even said it was from the day before.
You said you received approximately 7 slaps to the face. 7.
Slaps to face.
Any other assaults afterwards?
No, just the slaps.
Just the slaps?
Yes.
Did you undergo any forensic medical examination?
They scheduled it for me because of the pandemic. It was done almost a month later.
Did you take photos of the injuries on the day of the incident?
I took a photo. And Andre Amaral also took a photo when I went to the police station to give my statement of my red eye.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mauro.
It's Ricardo.
Ricardo, sorry, Mauro isn't here, right? And
Yes.
Mr. Ricardo, I would like to know if you have ever contacted the victim's family, the family of the people I mentioned, that she has names, families, to try to ask for forgiveness in order to compensate them.
I didn't look for it. I'll tell you why. Because right after the events, many people came to tell me that Mauro was threatening me, that he was either going to kill me or have someone kill me. However,
Mauro or Anderson, that Mauro died.
Mauro is the father to Maurinho.
I have no further questions, and I just want to say that I will fulfill your wish. Today, you will be condemned by the truth. Your wish is my command.
The atmosphere in the hearing became quite heated. Let's now check out the questions from the defense attorney. Now let's watch.
Good afternoon. Yes.
It is necessary to clarify further at this moment that this is your opportunity to present your own defense. That is the purpose of the interrogation. Even though you are shaken, affected by the whole situation, and even forgetting that you are a lawyer, you should observe this natural right that you have. To make it clear for the counsel to understand what it is, what happened, and what led to what happened. So I ask you, Ricardo, This issue with the belt that you showed and talked about, and it's in your statement where you said, I'm going to treat you like this, and showed the buckle to Márcia. Why did this conversation come up? Where did this come from? What motivated you to say that?
Since we were all there at the barbecue, and as has already been said, we were there having fun, at no point did I show the belt because I had used it or would use it, or at any moment had assaulted Márcia. In fact, we never even argued, not once.
Anderson made some comment. In a group where you were all together, everyone drinking? Did he make some comment like, with my wife, I keep her on a short leash, which is a joke?
Yes, but...
Did that happen or not?
Yes, it did, but... It's irrelevant. He also maybe wasn't... It was a joke, like they say here. We didn't end up rolling on the floor, but it was just joking around. Yes.
But those comments did happen as a joke, yeah.
It happened, but I don't see that it has any importance.
When you said you showed the belt buckle to your friends and jokingly said you did it to Márcia too, and I deal with it here, was it because of that joke with Anderson? That you said that to Márcia? Or to someone there, to your friends there? No.
I didn't say it to her.
You told your friends.
He was turned away talking, and I said it to the friends there.
You got to Anderson's house, you ate, drank, ran out of beer, went to get beer and meat once, not at all, how many times?
I went twice. Once I went with Lucas, and another time I went with Mauro.
What was the origin of that confusion that happened there?
The origin of the confusion, as I already said, Mauro asked me for 50 reais because he wanted to buy drugs.
And since you refused, then things started to get kind of...
He began behaving in a noticeably different manner, and it just continued to deteriorate more and more, until the entire situation finally reached its breaking point. I'm a lawyer, I talk a lot, and none of them were lawyers. Which means that sometimes I end up talking too much, and it ultimately ended up that as I was standing there talking to them, they became increasingly irritated with me. They were already quite frustrated because I had firmly refused their request, simply because I didn't give them exactly what they wanted at that time. So they were basically already prepared and waiting to attack me at that very moment. And unfortunately, that is exactly what happened next.
About the assault, what exactly happened in that altercation? Did they come at you or not? Did they attack you?
All three of them came at me, attacking me.
Did they knock you down to the ground?
Ground? I ended up losing my balance, yes. Because of the blows I took, and since I got slapped a few times from behind, which I didn't even see, right? And as I turned, like I said, there was a little wall, and I ended up tripping and falling.
Did they stay on top of you at that moment?
No.
Did you knock Márcia down? Did you help break it up or not?
When she helped me up, after I saw that she took 3 slaps, right? After she helped me up, Anderson still came over and slapped me again, and she was holding my arms at that moment.
Right, that was the moment when you called, they told you to leave. You took Márcia and left.
Yes, exactly. She was the one who called me. Let's go. And then they let us go. And
Anderson himself also sent us away, as Elaine stated. Who told you to leave? Didn't you hear that?
I didn't notice if they were telling us to leave. I just know she came pulling me to go away.
Right.
And by then, they had already completely come to a standstill. The assaults had already finally subsided and ended. And so we slowly made our way outside and left the area.
Okay, so you left. What happened then? Did you leave with Márcia, or what happened? And what happened? What did you go with?
We went in her car. She wasn't in any condition to drive. I took her to a house in her car. Then I came back, got mine, and took it to my house.
You left her car and her at her house?
Exactly.
Then did you walk back?
I walked back because it's not far. I walked back, it's about 5 blocks, approximately.
You took the truck and left?
I got the pickup truck and left.
There at the house where you sometimes slept, at Márcia's house. How many cars fit in the garage, and how easy is it to park the pickup truck in the garage?
Yeah, both the side space to open the door, and also you can't close the gate if you put the pickup truck in there. That's why I already left the pickup truck, took the motorcycle, so I was heading there. The motorcycle would fit normally. The pickup truck, on the other hand, the gate wouldn't close anymore.
Just so the council understands, did you take the pickup truck and go to your house?
That's right.
You left the pickup truck, took the motorcycle to go sleep at Marcia's.
Exactly.
And you took the opportunity to get the beer back. Is that the story?
Yes.
Let's move on. Now arriving there. You got there to get the beer. You already said you went there to apologize for all the trouble that happened at the house. You were in a strange house, right?
Strange.
Was it a friend's house or not?
It was a friend's house. They were among friends there.
But were you friends with those people? Did you feel comfortable there, or was it a strange house?
No, it was a strange house. Actually, I didn't know Anderson. I only knew Mourinho by sight. I didn't even know which family he was from. Didn't know how many sisters he had. Didn't know who he was. I already knew Mauro Costa, who is his father, but I didn't know he was Mauro Costa's son. I didn't know he was Saida's nephew, Milton Lopez's wife. I didn't know who he was.
Now, it's important for the council to understand. So tell me, what happened over there? You got there and ordered yourself a cold beer. Then who came over to serve you?
Mauro and Lucas came to serve me when I got there. Both of them came to talk to me. When I called Anderson, both of them came
Right.
at first.
And then, had there already been any problem between you and Mauro? Yeah.
I stayed a bit away, a little from the gate, because he was already coming. As he was coming toward the gate, he was already getting rough with me, you know?
Was that the exact moment when Anderson's wife suddenly showed up just to get the rest of the beer?
No, if at that moment I hadn't apologized, hadn't backed down, they would have come after me right then and there. But since I apologized and all, so he left. But Lucas, on the other hand, already didn't say anything else. And after Elaine came to help and I apologized again, I asked her to. So
That's what I want to understand, Ricardo. Elaine came over and the beer hadn't arrived yet. How did things go from there? Elaine came, you mentioned the beer. She went back. Who came back with her and what happened? Can you try to organize your thoughts on this, Ricardo?
when she went inside to get the beer, Mourinho. When she was bringing it, Mourinho went out, walked toward her, and they went back inside the house together. That's when I saw Anderson also approaching the door. I saw that they stayed inside the house for a while. After a bit, I saw her coming out with the beer. Mourinho was in front, she was behind him, and Anderson was behind her. He went out and positioned himself there near the bench where there's a tree as if he were hiding. When she reached out her hand, they already tried to... The turning point when they tried to catch me was when I drew my weapon and fired.
When did you notice that Mauro had that bulge on his waistband, which you believed to be a firearm? You mentioned it at the police station, and just like the prosecutor said, you stated that at the station. She reminded you that you said he had a pistol on his waistband and that he reached for it, and then you fired. I want you to clarify this story.
Exactly.
Did you see that weapon on his waistband?
I saw that he had something on his waistband there. I didn't actually see the weapon. I don't know the model. I don't know what kind of weapon it was or what caliber it was. However, I saw that he went back inside, and when he was coming back out, I already saw that he was already carrying something on his waistband.
And at that moment, when he came and you realized you might be attacked, did he actually reach for his waistband?
He reached for his waistband.
Was that when you fired at him?
He had already threatened to reach once and look down. The second time, when he went and reached for it, I drew.
How many shots were fired? There?
That
Do you remember?
I ended up firing 3 separate shots. I fired 3.
Out there, you're reporting that Elaine was a little inside the yard and the other two, Lucas and Mauro, were outside. Where was Anderson? Was he out there?
No.
Anderson went outside, together with those two individuals? No. That specific revolver you used? At that exact moment, where exactly was the revolver located?
It was in my pocket.
It was there in your... No, not at that moment. Did you go into the party with the revolver inside to have a beer?
No.
Ah, okay. Where was the gun? Where did you get the gun from? From where? From your house or from the pickup truck or from Marcia's house? Where did you get that gun from?
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
No.
I think at the police station, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know if you said this because I don't recall. I don't remember here. If you said you got it from the pickup truck, at the time you took it, it was in the pickup truck, right? When you eventually went back to Mauro's house that night, did you go back there specifically to kill Anderson? Or was it to kill Lucas? Or perhaps to kill Mauro? Tell me, what exactly did you go back there to do?
I went back there to get the beer I had left there, because first of all, I was already upset, having brought the beer for us to drink, and then everything I mentioned here happened. And then, after all that, my beer, I spent hours drinking, so I went there to get my beer and take it to Marcia's house to drink.
Was your plan to sleep at Marcia's? Yes. There, in Marcia's garage, does her car and your motorcycle fit? Is it easy to park your motorcycle in the garage, or is there a problem with that? Yes.
No, it doesn't fit inside the covered area. It's a bit tight to park it next to the car. But it can stay behind the car there, and you can close the gate.
But would it fit normally inside her yard?
Inside the yard.
Notice that the prosecutor asked you why you didn't mention the issue of the weapon in court. You previously mentioned that you used several aggressive expressions like, "I'm going to get you," or "I'm going to finish you." While I don't know the exact words you spoke at the courthouse that day, it's clear you used some specific expressions very similar to those. You ended up forgetting to say what happened. What explanation do you give since she asked you about it?
No, it is actually because I didn't see it very clearly at the time. But I definitely saw that there was something moving right over there.
I
hadn't seen exactly, but when I was talking to the lawyers I had hired, they told me, "It is important that you do not mention that you witnessed any kind of weapon. You say the following, you say that he said he was going to get you and that there was a bulge in his waistband, but did you actually see the weapon?" I said I didn't actually see the weapon. And they said, "So you say the following, say that he said he was going to get you, but he didn't say it."
So, you backtracked there in court when you were heard, following the advice of the lawyers at the time.
Exactly.
What you said at the police station, is that the truth or not? That was, I think, 2 days, 5 days. How many days did you say you were heard at the police station? How many days after the events?
I don't remember.
10 days, the same, a week?
I don't remember. 4 days.
Close to the events?
4 days. It was maybe about 4 days, I don't remember exactly. But it was somewhere around 4 days.
Did you hit Marcia? Did you assault Marcia?
Marcia and I, we never even had an argument. Not a single argument. We never had one.
There on the day of the events, did you slap Marcia? Did you hit Marcia?
No.
Anderson here today said he was out front, together with you. He saw everyone there. He saw Mauro sitting. He reported that he was there together. Was he out front, together with Anderson?
No.
Where was Anderson?
Look, I don't know if he was coming after his wife, who was bringing the beer. He was coming that way, but he wasn't out front.
All right. At the exact moment when you shot Mauro, can you tell me if Mauro was sitting down somewhere in the room?
No, he was actually standing.
Was he in front of the tree or before the tree? Because over there, there's the bench, the tree,
And
the street.
he was standing right beside the tree, on the side opposite the bench.
All right. Can you clarify if his body position was sitting or standing?
Standing?
Are you happy for having killed someone, Ricardo? Was it your life plan? Was it to kill a person?
No.
The defense is satisfied and returns the floor, Your Honor.
Doctor, before that, I would like a moment so I can speak. I would like to say the following. I would like to say to everyone present here, especially to Mauro Costa's family as well, to my family who is here, to all the families represented here, of the citizens of Anday do Sul, that it hasn't been easy. Just as it hasn't been easy for them, it hasn't been easy for me or for my family either. I feel a deep sense of remorse, and I openly admit and confess that I committed a terrible and tragic act, and I have truly regretted it each and every single day for the past 3 years. This haunts me, and today has been one of the hardest days of my life. I haven't had the opportunity to approach the family, to be there, as the doctor said, asking for forgiveness, helping out at some point, but because of some threats and rumors of threats that I heard about through third parties, I couldn't. However, at no time did I intend to take Mauro's life. Not at any moment. I always ask God for forgiveness for this. If I could travel back through time, every single thing would definitely be different. I would completely rewrite the way things happened. There have been many times sitting all alone, just like I was last night when I was at home thinking about all of this. In those moments, I often find that I start to cry while processing everything that has happened. I can't stop thinking about it all this time. But I had to make a decision there in my own defense. In my defense, I was worried about suffering new attacks, and I even feared for my life. That's when I took this action. But I deeply and bitterly regret everything that has happened. And I know it's hard for the family, but I hope in God that one day they can forgive me. It is my sincere hope that they might forgive me at some point in the future, in their own time, and that God may bestow this divine blessing upon me. And I ask forgiveness from them, from Mauro Costa, from his wife, his sisters, the whole family, his ex-girlfriend, all his friends. It was not my intention, but unfortunately, that's what happened. And to the jury panel, now let me ask you, if you were in my shoes right now, what exactly would you do? Okay, thank you, doctor. Excuse me?
Now it's up to the jury to decide whether the accused is guilty or not, or innocent. What do you think the decision will be? Comment below before watching the result. Let's see how many get it right.
The search for those who think of me. Hello, hello. According to Article 5, Section 37 of the Federal Constitution, which guarantees the sovereignty of the verdicts of the jury court, and in accordance with the judgment rendered by the jurors in these proceedings, 16.21, 04.2020.8.16, 0101, I now proceed to deliver the following decision. The defendant was indicted under the sanctions of Article 14 of Law Number 10,826 of 2003, Article 21 of the Law of Criminal Misdemeanors, with the application of the provisions of the Maria da Penha Law and Article 121, Paragraph 2, Section 2, both of the Penal Code. In this session, he was submitted to trial in accordance with the relevant legal formalities. In specific votes, the jurors decided to convict the defendant for all the offenses described in the indictment. In view of the above, and in accordance with the verdict of the distinguished jury council, I find the state's punitive claim to be valid and convict the defendant, Ricardo Sanches Vieira de Camargo, as indicted under the sanctions of Article 14 Caput of Law Number 10,826 of 2003, Article 21 of the Law of Criminal Misdemeanors, overlap with the provisions of the Maria da Penha Law, and Article 121, Paragraph 2, Item 2, in accordance with Article 69, both of the Penal Code. I also sentence the defendant to pay court costs. I will now proceed to set the sentence for the crime of qualified homicide. Culpability is understood as the judgment of reproach regarding the agent's behavior. The nature of the case does not deviate from what is usual, especially because situations that could be considered negative here will be analyzed later on. Upon reviewing the information obtained from the system, Oraculo, it is found that the convicted individual, according to precedent 444 of the Superior Court of Justice, does not have a criminal record. The circumstances of the crime are unfavorable. This is because the offense was committed with actual concrete danger to other people who were present at the scene, including a child, since it was a residential environment. There were several people there. That is, there was a quarrel between him and the victim moments before, the crime was committed, during a festive event taking place at Anderson's residence. The convicted individual and Márcia left the scene, but Ricardo returned to Anderson's residence, carrying the seized firearm. And a new argument began between the convicted individual and Mauro, at which point he drew the weapon and fired shots in the direction of the victim, who was sitting very close to where Eliane, her daughter, Anderson, and Lucas were. Furthermore, the convicted individual fired the shots at the victim suddenly, giving no chance for defense, as stated by the witness Lucas and the informant Anderson, both in this act and at the hearing for arraignment and judgment. All these factual circumstances point to a greater reprehensibility of the conduct. It should be noted that few elements were collected regarding social conduct, and there is not enough data to assess his personality. The consequences of the crime also weigh against the defendant, as reported by the informants Ana Paula and Moria. In this act, the intense psychological distress suffered by the victim's parents and sisters as a result of the events now being judged was described. It was stated that the victim's father is undergoing psychiatric treatment at the regional hospital in the city, and all of them are taking prescription medication due to the psychological trauma caused by the crime. Furthermore, the informants also stated that the victim, Mauro, contributed significantly to his parents' household expenses, and after his death, they began to experience financial difficulties. I attach case law relevant to the matter. The motives for the crime are typical for this type of case. At this point, I note that the fact that the crime was motivated by triviality is already being used to qualify the offense and the victim's behavior. I consider this irrelevant to the case. Thus, considering that the circumstances and consequences of the crime are unfavorable to the defendant, I set the prison sentence at this stage at 16 years of incarceration. There are no aggravating or mitigating circumstances to be considered. From this perspective, I note that although the convicted individual has confirmed that he fired the shots from the firearm, which were the efficient cause of the victim Mauro's death, he claims to have acted in self-defense. Given this, it is clear that we are dealing with a qualified confession, which occurs when the perpetrator admits to the authorship of the acts. But he raises in his favor a cause for exclusion of unlawfulness or culpability, which should not be considered for the purpose of mitigating the sentence. I cite the Supreme Federal Court's understandings on this matter. There are no grounds for increasing or reducing the sentence, which is why, in accordance with the parameters of Article 68 of the Penal Code, the convicted individual is hereby definitively sentenced for this crime to a penalty of 16 years of imprisonment in a closed regime, given the length of the sentence imposed. Substitution and suspension of the sentence are not applicable, as the objective conditions have not been met. Crime of illegal possession of a firearm. I state here all the circumstances, and there are none that are unfavorable, setting the base sentence at 2 years of imprisonment and 10 daily fines. There are no aggravating factors, but confession applies to this case. However, since the sentence is already set at the legal minimum, I refrain from reducing the sentence in accordance with precedent 231 of the STJ. There are no causes for increasing or decreasing the sentence, so for this offense, the defendant is definitively sentenced to 2 years of imprisonment and 10 daily fines. In an open regime, given the defendant's lack of prior convictions, substitution and suspension of the sentence are not applicable under Article 69, paragraph 1 of the Penal Code. For the misdemeanor of disorderly conduct, I also note here that there are no unfavorable circumstances setting the sentence at the legal minimum of 15 days of simple imprisonment. Here, the aggravating circumstance applies as argued by the Public Prosecutor's Office under Article 61, Item 2, subparagraph F. This is because the misdemeanor was committed within the context of domestic and family relations against a woman, since Márcia was his girlfriend at the time of the events, which is why the penalty is increased by 1/6. Thus, he is definitively convicted for this misdemeanor to 17 days of simple imprisonment in an open regime. Cumulative offenses. The provisions set forth in Article 69 of the Penal Code are applicable, since the defendant, through a series of 3 distinct actions, committed 3 separate criminal offenses. Thus, the defendant's sentence is definitively set at 18 years of imprisonment, 17 days of simple detention, and a fine of 10 days, calculated at 1/30 of the minimum wage due to the lack of information regarding the defendant's financial condition. A closed regime for the fulfillment of the sentence for homicide and illegal possession of a firearm, an open regime for serving the sentence for the misdemeanor of battery. Final statements. With the advent of the anti-crime law, Law 13,934 of 2009, a new provision was added to the list in Article 492 of the Code of Criminal Procedure, which now reads as follows. Item E, the accused shall be ordered to be taken into custody or recommended to remain in the prison where they are currently held if the requirements for preventive detention are met. Or, in the case of a conviction to a sentence equal to or greater than 15 years of imprisonment, it will order the provisional execution of the sentence with the issuance of an arrest warrant. This was not the only new development brought by the law, as stricter measures have also been incorporated into the provision under consideration. Let us pay attention to the aforementioned provision. Notice that, despite the legal mandates and moreover, even though the rules enjoy a presumption of constitutionality, the possibility or not of provisional execution within the scope of the jury court is a controversial issue and is subject to a number of disagreements. However, the Supreme Court is currently considering the judgment of Special Appeal 1,253,540 from Santa Catarina, Topic 1068, whose general repercussion has already been recognized, with the score currently at 4-3 in favor of the constitutionality of the immediate execution of convictions at the first instance of the jury courts. I align myself with the understanding that immediate execution of convictions is possible once the requirements are met. The requirements set forth in the Code of Criminal Procedure according to the votes which I attach herewith and from Ministers Luis Roberto Barroso and Alexandre de Moraes, whose reasoning I adopt as the grounds for deciding the present case and which I now incorporate into this sentence. PDF of the attached votes. The sentence imposed in this judgment exceeds 15 years of imprisonment, and I do not find in the case files any substantial issue that could result in acquittal, annulment of the sentence, or a new trial, or a reduction of the sentence to a level below 15 years. Therefore, I decide to order the immediate execution of the conviction. Now imposed, reparation of damages.
So, do you agree with the jury's decision? If you were there, would you have decided the same way? Leave your opinion here in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you next time. If you like this video, you'll also enjoy these 2 recommendations I'm putting on the screen. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, click on the logo to subscribe. Thank you for watching and see you next time.